The morning sun cast long shadows across the Afghan mountainside as Staff Sergeant Elena Rodriguez adjusted her scope for what would become the longest confirmed kill shot in military history. At 3,247 meters, the target seemed impossible even through her high-powered optics. The wind was picking up, and she had been lying motionless in her hide for over 14 hours. Elena had joined the military straight out of high school in a small Texas town where her father ran a gun shop. Growing up, she spent countless hours at the shooting range with him, developing skills that would one day save hundreds of lives. Her natural talent was undeniable, but it was her discipline and mental fortitude that set her apart from every other marksman she encountered. The recruitment officer had been skeptical when this petite young woman walked into his office talking about becoming a sniper. Women weren't officially allowed in combat roles at the time, but Elena was determined to find a way. She scored perfect marks in basic training and consistently outshot every male recruit in her class. Her instructors noticed something special about her ability to remain calm under pressure and her uncanny accuracy even in the most challenging conditions. After completing advanced marksmanship training, Elena found herself assigned to a forward operating base in Afghanistan as part of an experimental program integrating female soldiers into combat support roles. The base was located in one of the most dangerous regions, where Taliban fighters regularly launched attacks from the surrounding mountains. The terrain was unforgiving, with rocky outcrops and deep valleys that provided perfect hiding spots for enemy combatants. Chief Petty Officer Marcus Steele was a 20-year veteran Navy SEAL who had seen more combat than most soldiers could imagine. He commanded respect wherever he went, and his reputation preceded him throughout the special operations community. Steele was known for his no-nonsense approach and his ability to assess a soldier's capabilities within minutes of meeting them. He had little patience for what he considered political experiments in the military. When Elena arrived at the base, Steele made his opinion clear to anyone who would listen. He believed that combat zones were no place for women, regardless of their training or abilities. His concerns weren't entirely unfounded, as the unit had never worked with a female sniper before, and the dynamics of their tight-knit team had always relied on complete trust and understanding. Elena knew she would face skepticism and had prepared herself mentally for the challenges ahead. She understood that she would need to prove herself not just as a competent soldier, but as someone worthy of the trust her teammates would need to place in her during life and death situations. Her strategy was simple: let her performance speak for itself. The first few weeks at the base were tense. Elena participated in training exercises and patrol missions, consistently demonstrating her skills while maintaining a professional demeanor despite the occasional hostile comment or skeptical glance. She studied the terrain obsessively, memorizing every ridge, valley, and potential shooting position within a 50-kilometer radius of the base. During this time, Taliban activity in the region had increased significantly. Intelligence reports indicated that a high-value target, a Taliban commander responsible for coordinating attacks against coalition forces, was operating from a compound in the mountains. Multiple attempts to locate and eliminate this individual had failed, largely because he remained at distances that made engagement extremely difficult. The compound where the target was believed to be hiding sat on a plateau nearly 3.5 kilometers from the nearest position where coalition forces could establish overwatch. Previous reconnaissance missions had confirmed the location, but no sniper had been able to make such an extreme long-range shot under combat conditions. The distance was beyond what most considered possible, even with the most advanced equipment available. Elena had been studying the target location for days, calculating wind patterns, elevation changes, and atmospheric conditions. She had run the numbers countless times and believed the shot was possible, though it would require perfect conditions and flawless execution. The mathematical calculations alone were staggering, requiring adjustments for Coriolis effect, air density, and a dozen other variables that could affect bullet trajectory over such an extreme distance. When intelligence confirmed that the high-value target would be at the compound for a limited window, Elena requested permission to attempt the shot. Her request made its way up the chain of command, eventually reaching Chief Steele. The idea of approving such a risky operation, particularly with an unproven female sniper, went against every instinct he had developed over 2 decades of military service. The briefing room was tense as Elena presented her plan to Steele and the other senior non-commissioned officers. She had prepared detailed calculations, weather analysis, and contingency plans for various scenarios. Her presentation was thorough and professional, but Steele remained unconvinced. The shot distance was nearly a kilometer beyond any confirmed kill in military history, and failure could compromise the mission and potentially endanger the entire team. Steele's primary concern was not just the difficulty of the shot, but the implications of missing. If Elena failed to eliminate the target, their position would be compromised, and the high-value individual would likely relocate to an area where future attempts would be impossible. The window of opportunity was narrow, and there would be no second chances. After considerable debate, Steele made the decision that would change everything. Against his better judgment and personal reservations, he approved the mission. Elena would have one opportunity to prove that her confidence was justified and that the impossible shot could be made. The decision weighed heavily on him, but something in Elena's presentation had convinced him that she genuinely believed success was achievable. Preparation for the mission began immediately. Elena spent hours checking and rechecking her equipment, ensuring that every component of her rifle system was perfectly calibrated. She practiced breathing techniques and mental visualization exercises, preparing herself for the intense pressure she would face during the actual engagement. The margin for error was essentially zero. The night before the mission, Elena couldn't sleep. She ran through the shot sequence in her mind repeatedly, visualizing every aspect from initial target acquisition through trigger pull and follow-through. She knew that dozens of variables could affect the outcome, many of which would be beyond her control once she was in position. The weight of responsibility was enormous, but she felt prepared for the challenge. As dawn approached on the day of the mission, Elena made her final preparations. She had calculated that the optimal shooting conditions would occur during a brief window in the mid-morning when atmospheric conditions would be most stable. The weather forecast indicated light winds, which would be crucial for a shot at this distance. Every detail had been considered and planned for. The insertion to the shooting position required a grueling hike through mountainous terrain in darkness. Elena carried her custom rifle system along with enough ammunition and supplies to sustain her for up to 24 hours if necessary. The weight of the equipment was substantial, but she had trained extensively for such operations and maintained the pace without difficulty. Reaching the predetermined shooting position just as the sun began to rise, Elena immediately began setting up her hide site. The location provided an unobstructed view of the target compound while offering concealment and protection from potential counter-sniper fire. She carefully arranged camouflage materials and established shooting supports that would allow her to maintain a steady position for extended periods. Through her scope, the target compound appeared impossibly distant. Even with maximum magnification, the structures looked tiny and indistinct. Elena began the process of ranging the target and calculating the precise adjustments needed for her rifle scope. The mathematics were complex, but she had practiced these calculations countless times during training and preparation. Hours passed as Elena waited for the target to appear. Intelligence had indicated that the high-value individual typically emerged from the main building during the late morning hours, but the exact timing was uncertain. Elena remained motionless in her position, controlling her breathing and heart rate while maintaining constant vigilance through her scope. At 1047 hours, movement was detected near the target building. A figure emerged that matched the physical description and behavioral patterns of the high-value target. Elena began her final preparations, adjusting her scope settings and calculating the precise aiming point based on current wind conditions and atmospheric readings from her handheld weather station. The target moved slowly across the compound, occasionally stopping to speak with other individuals. Elena tracked his movement through her scope, waiting for him to reach a position that would provide the clearest shot with minimal risk of collateral damage. Her finger rested lightly on the trigger as she controlled her breathing and prepared for the shot that would either validate her capabilities or end her military career. The moment arrived when the target moved into the optimal position. Elena made her final scope adjustments and began her shooting sequence. She controlled her breathing, allowing her heart rate to slow as she achieved the mental state necessary for extreme precision shooting. The crosshairs settled on the target as she began applying pressure to the trigger. The shot broke clean, and Elena immediately began tracking the bullet's flight path through her scope. At this distance, the time of flight would be several seconds, during which numerous factors could affect the bullet's trajectory. She watched as the target continued his normal activities, unaware that a projectile was racing toward him at over twice the speed of sound. The impact was visible through Elena's scope as the target suddenly collapsed. The shot had found its mark with devastating precision, eliminating the high-value individual at a distance that many experts would have considered impossible. Elena immediately began preparing to relocate, knowing that her position might be compromised and that enemy forces would likely respond quickly to the attack. Confirmation of the successful engagement came through multiple intelligence sources over the following hours. The high-value target had been eliminated with a single shot fired from a distance that shattered previous military records. The impact on enemy operations in the region was immediate and significant, as the Taliban command structure in that area was thrown into chaos. When Elena returned to the base and reported to Chief Steele, she could see the mixture of amazement and disbelief in his expression. The shot she had just made exceeded anything in his extensive military experience, and he struggled to process what had been accomplished. For the first time in his career, Steele found himself genuinely speechless in the face of such extraordinary marksmanship. The implications of Elena's achievement extended far beyond a single successful mission. She had demonstrated that the boundaries of what was considered possible in military marksmanship could be pushed further than anyone had imagined. More importantly, she had proven that exceptional ability could emerge from unexpected sources and challenge long-held assumptions about combat effectiveness. Word of the record-breaking shot spread quickly through the military community. Elena's achievement was documented and verified through multiple sources, establishing a new benchmark for long-range precision shooting. The 3,247-meter kill became a case study in military sniper schools and fundamentally changed discussions about the practical limits of rifle marksmanship. For Elena, the successful mission represented validation of years of training and preparation. She had faced skepticism and doubt from colleagues who questioned her place in a combat environment, but her performance had silenced critics and earned their respect. The shot that many considered impossible had become reality through a combination of skill, preparation, and unwavering determination. Chief Steele's reaction to Elena's achievement marked the beginning of a significant shift in his perspective. The woman he had initially viewed with skepticism had accomplished something that exceeded the capabilities of any sniper he had worked with during his distinguished career. The implications of this realization would continue to resonate as their professional relationship developed. The mission's success also had strategic implications for operations in the region. The elimination of the high-value target disrupted enemy command and control systems, leading to a temporary decrease in attacks against coalition forces. Elena's single shot had achieved an objective that had eluded multiple previous operations, demonstrating the decisive impact that exceptional marksmanship could have in modern warfare. As news of the record-breaking achievement spread throughout the base, Elena found herself the subject of intense interest and curiosity. Soldiers who had previously viewed her with indifference or skepticism now approached her with genuine respect and admiration. The successful mission had established her credentials beyond any doubt and earned her acceptance within the tight-knit military community. However, Elena remained focused on her duties and responsibilities rather than dwelling on the recognition her achievement had brought. She understood that one successful mission, regardless of its significance, did not guarantee future success. The standard she had set for herself required consistent performance and continued dedication to improving her skills and capabilities. The technical aspects of the shot continued to be analyzed by military experts and ballisticians who sought to understand how such extreme precision had been achieved. Elena's equipment, ammunition, and shooting techniques became subjects of detailed study as the military community sought to replicate and build upon her success. Despite the acclaim surrounding her record-breaking shot, Elena knew that her greatest challenge lay ahead. She had proven her capabilities in a single engagement, but earning lasting respect and acceptance would require sustained performance over multiple missions and operations. The pressure to maintain such exceptional standards was enormous, but she was determined to meet the expectations her achievement had created. The days following Elena's record-breaking shot brought unexpected challenges that tested her resolve more than any enemy engagement ever could. While word of her achievement spread through military channels, creating ripples of amazement and disbelief, the immediate environment at the forward operating base remained complex and, sometimes, hostile. Success in one mission, even one as extraordinary as hers, did not automatically translate to acceptance among hardened combat veterans who had spent years developing their own reputations and credibility. Chief Steele found himself in an uncomfortable position following Elena's successful engagement. His decades of military experience had taught him to trust his instincts about personnel and capabilities, yet this young woman had accomplished something that defied his expectations and challenged his preconceived notions. The professional soldier in him recognized exceptional performance when he saw it, but his personal biases and long-held beliefs about women in combat roles created an internal conflict that he struggled to resolve. During the post-mission debrief, Steele maintained his characteristic stern demeanor while reviewing the operation's details. Elena presented her after-action report with the same professionalism she had demonstrated throughout her time at the base, providing technical details about environmental conditions, equipment performance, and tactical considerations. Her analysis was thorough and objective, focusing on lessons learned and potential improvements for future operations rather than dwelling on the historic nature of her achievement. The intelligence value of eliminating the high-value target became increasingly apparent as enemy communications were intercepted and analyzed. The Taliban commander's death had created a significant disruption in their operational planning, leading to confusion and internal disputes about succession and strategy. Multiple planned attacks against coalition forces were postponed or cancelled as the enemy organization struggled to reorganize their command structure. Elena's success had strategic implications that extended beyond the immediate tactical victory. Military planners recognized that her demonstrated capability opened new possibilities for engaging high-value targets at previously impossible distances. The psychological impact on enemy forces was also significant, as they now faced the reality that no location within several kilometers of coalition positions could be considered safe from precision engagement. However, the personal cost of such extraordinary achievement began to manifest in unexpected ways. Elena found herself increasingly isolated from her peers, not due to hostility or resentment, but because of the pedestal her record had placed her on. Soldiers who had previously treated her as just another team member now approached her with a mixture of awe and uncertainty, unsure how to relate to someone who had accomplished something so remarkable. The media attention surrounding Elena's achievement created additional complications. Military public affairs officers recognized the positive publicity value of her story, particularly given ongoing debates about women's roles in combat operations. Elena found herself being considered for interviews and promotional activities that would take her away from operational duties and thrust her into an uncomfortable spotlight she had never sought. Chief Steele watched these developments with growing concern. He had seen promising military careers derailed by excessive attention and publicity, and he worried that Elena might become more valuable to the military as a symbol than as an operational asset. His protective instincts, which had initially made him skeptical of her presence in a combat zone, now made him determined to shield her from exploitation and help her maintain focus on her primary mission. The relationship between Elena and Steele began to evolve as mutual respect gradually replaced initial skepticism and wariness. Steele recognized that Elena's achievement was not a fluke or the result of luck, but the product of exceptional skill, thorough preparation, and mental toughness. Elena, for her part, began to appreciate Steele's experience and leadership qualities, understanding that his initial resistance had been based on genuine concern for mission effectiveness rather than personal prejudice. Their first extended conversation occurred during a routine equipment inspection when Steele asked Elena about her training background and development as a marksman. She explained her unconventional path from a small Texas town to military service, describing the countless hours she had spent learning from her father and developing skills that most people never imagined could be applied in a military context. Steele listened intently, beginning to understand the dedication and natural talent that had led to her unprecedented achievement. As Elena continued to participate in routine operations, her consistent performance began to build the kind of sustained credibility that a single spectacular success could not provide. She executed standard reconnaissance missions with the same precision and professionalism she had demonstrated during her record-breaking engagement. Her ability to gather intelligence through careful observation and her skill at remaining undetected during extended surveillance operations impressed even the most experienced members of the unit. The technical aspects of Elena's shooting ability continued to fascinate military experts who studied her methods and equipment. Her rifle system was standard issue with minor modifications that she had developed through experimentation and practice. The ammunition she used was also standard military specification, dispelling theories that her success had depended on special or experimental equipment. The key to her capability lay in her understanding of ballistics, environmental conditions, and, most importantly, her ability to execute under pressure. Elena's mental approach to extreme long-range shooting became a subject of particular interest. She had developed visualization techniques that allowed her to mentally rehearse engagements repeatedly before actual execution. Her ability to remain calm and focused during high-stress situations was remarkable, even among elite military personnel who had undergone extensive stress inoculation training. This mental toughness, combined with her technical skills, created a combination that was difficult to replicate. The training requests that began arriving from various military units seeking to learn from Elena's methods created additional pressure and demands on her time. Sniper schools and marksmanship programs wanted her to share techniques and insights that might help other shooters achieve similar results. Elena was willing to contribute to military training programs, but she insisted that any instruction she provided should focus on fundamental principles rather than attempting to replicate the specific circumstances of her record shot. Chief Steele found himself becoming an advocate for Elena's continued operational deployment rather than reassignment to training duties. He argued that her value as an active sniper far exceeded her potential contribution as an instructor, particularly given the ongoing security challenges in their area of operations. His support proved crucial in keeping Elena in her primary role while managing the various requests for her participation in other programs. The bond between Elena and Steele strengthened as they worked together on mission planning and tactical development. Steele's extensive combat experience complemented Elena's technical expertise, creating a partnership that enhanced the effectiveness of both individuals. Their collaboration led to innovations in sniper employment techniques that took advantage of Elena's extraordinary capabilities while incorporating Steele's understanding of overall mission requirements. Elena's influence on unit morale and performance became increasingly apparent as other soldiers began adopting her approach to preparation and training. Her dedication to continuous improvement and her refusal to accept limitations inspired others to push their own capabilities beyond previous boundaries. The culture of excellence she promoted through example rather than instruction created a positive feedback loop that benefited the entire unit. The psychological warfare aspects of Elena's reputation began to affect enemy behavior in measurable ways. Intelligence reports indicated that enemy forces were altering their movement patterns and operational procedures specifically to avoid potential engagement by the sniper with the record-breaking capability. This behavioral modification provided tactical advantages to coalition forces even when Elena was not actively engaged in operations. However, the increased attention and expectations also created new forms of pressure that Elena had to learn to manage. Every mission now carried the weight of her reputation, and any failure or substandard performance would be scrutinized more intensely than normal. She developed coping strategies to deal with this pressure, focusing on process rather than outcomes and maintaining the same methodical approach that had led to her initial success. Steele observed Elena's adaptation to increased expectations with admiration and concern. He recognized the signs of stress that came with extraordinary responsibility and worked to create an environment where Elena could continue to perform at her highest level without being overwhelmed by external pressures. His mentorship became increasingly important as Elena navigated the challenges of maintaining exceptional performance while dealing with unprecedented attention. The partnership between Elena and Steele evolved beyond a simple superior-subordinate relationship to become a genuine collaboration between professionals who brought complementary strengths to their shared mission. Steele's strategic thinking and Elena's tactical precision created a combination that maximized the effectiveness of sniper operations while minimizing risk to personnel and mission objectives. Elena's commitment to her primary mission remained unwavering despite the various distractions and opportunities that arose from her achievement. She continued to study terrain, practice her skills, and prepare for future operations with the same intensity she had demonstrated before her record-breaking shot. This consistency impressed Steele and other senior leaders who recognized that true professionalism meant maintaining standards regardless of external recognition or pressure. The respect Elena earned from her peers came not just from her record-breaking achievement, but from her continued demonstration of competence, reliability, and dedication. Soldiers who had initially been skeptical or resentful began to appreciate her contributions to unit effectiveness and her willingness to share knowledge and experience with others. The barriers that had initially existed began to dissolve as Elena proved herself through sustained performance rather than a single spectacular success. As weeks passed, the dynamic between Elena and Steele became a model for how experienced leaders could adapt their perspectives when presented with evidence that challenged their assumptions. Steele's willingness to acknowledge his initial misjudgment and to recognize Elena's exceptional capabilities demonstrated the kind of intellectual honesty and professional growth that distinguish truly effective military leaders. The strategic implications of Elena's capabilities continued to influence operational planning at higher levels of command. Mission planners began incorporating her unique skills into operations that would have been considered impossible or impractical previously. This evolution in tactical thinking demonstrated how individual excellence could drive broader organizational adaptation and improvement. Elena's approach to handling recognition and praise remained consistent with her overall professional demeanor. She acknowledged compliments graciously but always redirected attention to team accomplishments and mission objectives. This humility, combined with her demonstrated competence, helped her maintain positive relationships with colleagues while avoiding the resentment that sometimes accompanied exceptional individual achievement. The foundation of mutual respect between Elena and Steele created opportunities for both individuals to grow and develop in ways that would not have been possible in a more conventional military relationship. Their partnership became an example of how diversity of background and perspective could enhance rather than hinder military effectiveness when managed by leaders with the wisdom to recognize and develop exceptional talent regardless of its source. 3 months after her record-breaking shot, Elena found herself facing her most challenging mission yet. Intelligence had identified a network of Taliban commanders planning a coordinated assault on multiple coalition bases throughout the region. The threat was significant enough to require immediate action, but the targets were located in a remote mountain valley that would be nearly impossible to reach through conventional military operations. Chief Steele was briefed on the mission parameters during a secure video conference with regional command. The operation would require a small team to infiltrate deep into enemy-controlled territory, establish observation posts, and eliminate multiple high-value targets before they could execute their planned attacks. The mission timeline was compressed, with intelligence suggesting that the enemy assault could begin within 72 hours. The complexity of the operation exceeded anything Elena had previously undertaken. Unlike her record-breaking engagement, which had been executed from a relatively secure position with established lines of communication and support, this mission would require her to operate independently in hostile territory for an extended period. The risks were enormous, and failure could result in capture, torture, and execution by enemy forces known for their brutality toward prisoners. Steele's initial reaction was to exclude Elena from the mission roster despite her proven capabilities. His protective instincts and concerns about her safety in such a high-risk operation conflicted with his recognition of her exceptional skills and the mission's requirements. The debate that followed revealed the depth of respect and professional concern that had developed between them over the previous months. Elena argued passionately for her inclusion in the operation, emphasizing that her unique capabilities made her the most qualified team member for the long-range precision shooting that would be required. The targets were located at distances that would challenge even her extraordinary skills, and no other available sniper had demonstrated the ability to make successful engagements at such extreme ranges. Her logic was sound, but Steele remained reluctant to approve her participation. The mission planning sessions that followed were intense and detailed, with every aspect of the operation scrutinized and contingencies developed for numerous potential scenarios. The infiltration route would require a grueling overland movement through mountainous terrain during hours of darkness, followed by the establishment of hidden observation posts that would allow engagement of the targets while providing concealment and escape routes. Elena's preparation for the mission was more extensive than any she had previously undertaken. She studied satellite imagery and topographical maps for hours, memorizing terrain features and identifying potential shooting positions, escape routes, and rally points. Her equipment selection was critical, as she would need to carry everything required for a multi-day operation while maintaining the mobility necessary for rapid displacement if discovered. The psychological preparation for operating alone behind enemy lines required Elena to develop mental resilience techniques that went beyond her previous training. She would be completely dependent on her own resources and decision-making ability, with no immediate support available if situations deteriorated. The isolation and pressure of such independent operation tested even the most experienced special operations personnel. Chief Steele's concerns about the mission went beyond Elena's safety to encompass broader questions about risk management and mission success probability. The operation required simultaneous coordination of multiple elements, and the failure of any single component could compromise the entire effort. Elena's role was critical to mission success, but her capture or elimination would also represent a significant loss to coalition capabilities. The night before infiltration, Elena and Steele had their most candid conversation about the risks and challenges ahead. Steele expressed his concerns about her safety while acknowledging that her skills made her indispensable to mission success. Elena appreciated his honesty and concern but remained determined to prove that she could operate effectively under the most challenging conditions imaginable. The infiltration began at 0200 hours with Elena and 3 other team members moving through mountain passes using night vision equipment and following routes designed to avoid known enemy positions. The movement was slow and methodical, with frequent stops to listen for signs of enemy activity and to verify their position using GPS coordinates. Elena carried her rifle system and enough supplies to sustain her for up to 5 days if necessary. Reaching the designated area of operations required nearly 8 hours of continuous movement through some of the most challenging terrain Elena had ever encountered. The thin air at high altitude made physical exertion more difficult, while the rocky, unstable surfaces created constant risks of injury or equipment damage. The team's physical conditioning and preparation proved crucial as they navigated obstacles that would have stopped less experienced personnel. The establishment of Elena's shooting position required careful consideration of numerous factors including fields of fire, concealment, escape routes, and communication capabilities. The location she selected provided clear lines of sight to multiple target areas while offering natural camouflage and protection from observation. The position also allowed her to communicate with other team members using encrypted radio equipment. Elena's first 24 hours in position tested her endurance and mental toughness in ways she had never experienced. The combination of physical discomfort, environmental stress, and psychological pressure created challenges that went beyond technical shooting skills. She had to remain motionless for hours while maintaining constant vigilance, ready to engage targets at a moment's notice while avoiding detection by enemy patrols. The intelligence picture began to develop as Elena and her teammates observed enemy movement patterns and identified key personnel. The Taliban commanders were indeed present in the valley, but their security measures and unpredictable movement patterns made engagement planning extremely complex. Elena would need to be prepared to adapt her shooting solutions rapidly as targets appeared and disappeared unpredictably. Communication with the base was limited to brief, encrypted transmissions that provided updates on enemy activity and mission status. Chief Steele monitored these communications anxiously, recognizing that Elena and her team were operating at the edge of their capabilities in an environment where help would be hours away even under the best circumstances. The weight of command responsibility pressed heavily on him as he tracked their progress. Elena's first engagement opportunity came on the second day of the operation when one of the primary targets appeared at a compound approximately 2,800 meters from her position. The shot was at the extreme range of practical engagement, requiring precise calculation of environmental factors and perfect execution under field conditions that were far from ideal. She had one opportunity to eliminate the target before he disappeared back into the secure compound. The technical challenges of the shot were compounded by the operational environment and mission constraints. Elena had to account for altitude effects on bullet trajectory, changing wind conditions throughout the day, and the psychological pressure of knowing that missing the target could compromise the entire operation. Her breathing control and trigger technique had to be flawless despite the physical and mental stress of extended operations. Elena's shot found its mark with devastating precision, eliminating the high-value target instantly and creating immediate confusion among the enemy personnel in the compound. The successful engagement validated her capabilities under the most challenging operational conditions, but it also alerted enemy forces to the presence of coalition snipers in the area. Security measures were immediately increased, making future engagements more difficult and dangerous. The psychological impact of the successful elimination on both enemy and friendly forces was significant. Enemy commanders became more cautious and unpredictable in their movements, while Elena's teammates gained confidence in her ability to deliver precise fires under extreme conditions. The success also reinforced Steele's recognition of Elena's exceptional capabilities, even as his concerns about her safety intensified. The second day brought additional challenges as enemy forces began actively searching for the sniper team. Elena observed increased patrol activity and the deployment of counter-sniper teams equipped with advanced optics and detection equipment. The cat-and-mouse game that developed required constant vigilance and frequent position changes to avoid detection and capture. Elena's second engagement opportunity presented itself under even more challenging conditions, with the target appearing briefly at a distance of over 3,000 meters while enemy forces were actively searching for her position. The shot required split-second decision-making and execution, as any delay would result in the target's disappearance and possible discovery of Elena's position by enemy counter-snipers. The successful elimination of the second high-value target demonstrated Elena's ability to perform under maximum pressure while adapting to rapidly changing tactical situations. Her mental toughness and technical skills allowed her to maintain effectiveness even as operational conditions deteriorated and risks multiplied. The achievement exceeded what most military experts would have considered possible under such circumstances. However, the second successful engagement also triggered a massive enemy response as Taliban forces recognized the severity of the threat posed by the coalition sniper team. Radio communications intercepted by coalition intelligence indicated that significant resources were being diverted to hunt down and eliminate Elena and her teammates. The mission had achieved its objectives but at the cost of creating an extremely dangerous situation for the operators. Elena's position became untenable as enemy forces closed in from multiple directions using systematic search patterns and advanced detection equipment. The extraction plan had to be executed immediately to avoid capture, requiring rapid movement through hostile territory while under active pursuit by numerically superior enemy forces. The skills and preparation that had made the mission possible would now be tested in a life-or-death escape scenario. The extraction movement tested Elena's physical conditioning and mental resilience to their absolute limits. Moving rapidly through mountainous terrain while carrying heavy equipment and avoiding enemy patrols required sustained effort that pushed her beyond previous boundaries of endurance. The knowledge that capture would likely result in torture and execution provided powerful motivation to maintain pace despite extreme fatigue. Elena's teammates demonstrated the same level of professional competence and dedication that she had shown throughout the operation. Their mutual support and shared determination to reach the extraction points safely illustrated the bonds that formed between elite military personnel operating under extreme conditions. The mission had tested all of them individually and collectively in ways that would influence their careers and relationships permanently. Chief Steele's relief when he received confirmation that Elena and her team had reached the extraction point safely was overwhelming. The successful completion of such a high-risk operation validated his decision to approve Elena's participation while demonstrating the exceptional capabilities of his personnel. The mission had achieved its strategic objectives while proving that properly trained and equipped small units could accomplish objectives that larger conventional forces might find impossible. The intelligence gathered during the operation and the elimination of two key Taliban commanders disrupted the planned enemy assault and provided coalition forces with significant tactical advantages throughout the region. Elena's individual contribution had strategic implications that extended far beyond the technical achievement of making extremely difficult shots under challenging conditions. The debriefing sessions following the mission provided valuable lessons for future operations while highlighting areas where procedures and equipment could be improved. Elena's insights into long-range shooting under field conditions contributed to the development of new training programs and tactical techniques that would benefit other military snipers facing similar challenges. The successful completion of such a high-risk, high-reward operation marked a new phase in Elena's military career and in her relationship with Chief Steele. Both had been tested under extreme conditions and had proven their capabilities in ways that would influence their future assignments and responsibilities. The mission had demonstrated that exceptional individual performance could achieve strategic objectives when properly supported and integrated into broader operational plans. The success of Elena's behind enemy lines mission created ripple effects throughout the military hierarchy that neither she nor Chief Steele had anticipated. Within days of her return, orders arrived reassigning Elena to a prestigious training facility where she would develop curriculum for advanced sniper programs. The assignment was presented as a promotion and recognition of her exceptional capabilities, but both Elena and Steele recognized it as an attempt to remove her from active combat operations. Elena's reaction to the reassignment order was immediate and passionate. She had not joined the military to become an instructor or a poster child for women in combat roles. Her desire was to continue serving as an operational sniper where her skills could directly contribute to mission success and the safety of her fellow soldiers. The thought of being relegated to a training facility, regardless of how prestigious it might be, felt like a betrayal of her primary purpose and calling. Chief Steele found himself in an impossible position as he tried to navigate between Elena's career interests and the desires of higher command. His own recommendations had emphasized Elena's value as an operational asset, but political considerations and public relations opportunities appeared to be driving decision-making processes beyond his influence. The frustration he felt at seeing exceptional talent potentially wasted in bureaucratic maneuvering brought back memories of similar situations throughout his career. The tension surrounding Elena's potential reassignment coincided with intelligence reports indicating increased enemy activity in their operational area. Taliban forces had apparently regrouped following the disruption caused by Elena's previous missions and were planning new attacks that would test coalition defenses. The timing of her potential departure could not have been worse from a tactical perspective. Elena's emotional state began to show signs of strain as she grappled with the possibility of being removed from the role where she felt most valuable and fulfilled. Her perfectionist tendencies and intense dedication to her mission created internal pressure that was compounded by external forces beyond her control. The stress manifested in subtle changes to her behavior and performance that were noticed by those who worked closely with her. Chief Steele observed Elena's struggle with growing concern and recognition. He had seen promising military careers derailed by bureaucratic decisions that prioritized politics over operational effectiveness. His protective instincts, which had initially made him skeptical of Elena's presence in a combat zone, now made him determined to fight for her right to continue serving in her chosen capacity. The breaking point came during a routine training exercise when Elena's normally flawless performance showed signs of the internal pressure she was experiencing. Her shot groupings were still exceptional by any standard, but Steele noticed subtle variations that indicated the psychological stress was beginning to affect her technical execution. The realization that external pressures could potentially compromise Elena's operational effectiveness prompted him to take action. Steele's decision to directly challenge the reassignment orders required him to risk his own career and reputation. His formal objection to Elena's transfer cited operational necessity and the unique value of her capabilities in the current threat environment. The memo he submitted through proper channels was professional and factual, but it also carried an implicit criticism of decision-making processes that prioritized public relations over military effectiveness. Elena was initially unaware of Steele's intervention on her behalf, continuing to struggle with the possibility that her operational career might be ending just as she was reaching her peak capabilities. Her frustration extended beyond personal disappointment to include concerns about the precedent being set for other women seeking to serve in combat roles. She worried that her reassignment might be interpreted as evidence that women could not sustain the demands of frontline service. The response to Steele's objection came in the form of a visit from a colonel who had been tasked with personally evaluating Elena's situation and making recommendations to higher command. Colonel Patricia Morrison was a career officer with extensive experience in personnel management and a reputation for making difficult decisions based on merit rather than political considerations. Her assessment would likely determine Elena's immediate future. Colonel Morrison's evaluation process was thorough and professional, including interviews with Elena, Steele, and other personnel who had worked with them. She observed training exercises, reviewed mission reports, and examined performance data to develop a comprehensive understanding of Elena's capabilities and contributions. Her approach indicated a genuine commitment to making decisions based on factual analysis rather than preconceived notions. During her interview with Elena, Colonel Morrison explored the personal motivations and career goals that drove her exceptional performance. Elena's responses revealed the depth of her commitment to operational service and her belief that her talents were best utilized in direct support of combat missions. The conversation also addressed the challenges Elena faced as a pioneering female sniper and her strategies for dealing with skepticism and pressure. The interview between Colonel Morrison and Chief Steele provided insights into the professional relationship that had developed between them and its impact on operational effectiveness. Steele's honest assessment of his initial skepticism and subsequent recognition of Elena's capabilities impressed the colonel and demonstrated the kind of intellectual honesty and adaptability that distinguished effective military leaders. Colonel Morrison's observations of Elena during training exercises confirmed the reports of exceptional marksmanship ability while also revealing the psychological pressure that potential reassignment was creating. The colonel recognized that Elena's performance, while still superior to most snipers, was being negatively affected by uncertainty about her future role and the feeling that her contributions were not valued by higher command. The critical moment in Colonel Morrison's evaluation came during a live-fire exercise when Elena was tasked with engaging multiple targets at varying distances under time pressure. Despite the psychological stress she was experiencing, Elena's performance exceeded all established standards and demonstrated capabilities that the colonel had never witnessed previously. The display of skill and mental toughness under pressure provided clear evidence of Elena's exceptional value as an operational asset. Colonel Morrison's private conversation with Steele following the live-fire exercise revealed her growing understanding of the unique professional partnership they had developed. Steele's insights into Elena's capabilities and potential contributions to future operations provided the colonel with perspective on how exceptional individual talent could be integrated effectively into military organizations without compromising unit cohesion or effectiveness. The decision-making process that followed Colonel Morrison's evaluation involved consultations with multiple levels of command and consideration of precedent-setting implications for women's roles in combat operations. Elena's case had become a test of the military's commitment to merit-based assignments and its willingness to prioritize operational effectiveness over political convenience. Elena's mental state during the evaluation period reflected the intense pressure of having her entire career trajectory dependent on external decisions beyond her control. Her coping strategies included increased focus on physical training and equipment maintenance, activities that provided some sense of control and purpose while the bureaucratic process played out. The waiting period tested her resilience in ways that combat operations had never challenged. Chief Steele's own stress during this period stemmed from his recognition that Elena's situation represented broader issues within military personnel management systems. His efforts to advocate for her continued operational assignment had put him in conflict with higher command decisions, creating potential career risks that he accepted willingly based on his belief in doing what was right rather than what was expedient. The psychological dynamics between Elena and Steele evolved during this crisis period as they confronted the possibility that their professional partnership might be terminated by administrative decision rather than operational necessity. Their mutual respect and shared commitment to mission effectiveness created a bond that transcended normal superior-subordinate relationships and demonstrated the positive potential of diversity in military organizations. Elena's performance during Colonel Morrison's evaluation demonstrated her ability to maintain operational effectiveness despite significant psychological pressure. Her mental toughness and technical skills remained at exceptional levels even while dealing with uncertainty about her future role. This resilience impressed the colonel and provided evidence that Elena possessed the kind of character and capability that the military needed to retain and develop. The broader implications of Elena's case extended beyond individual career management to encompass questions about institutional adaptability and the military's capacity to recognize and utilize exceptional talent regardless of its source. The evaluation process became an opportunity to examine assumptions and procedures that might inadvertently waste human resources or limit organizational effectiveness. Colonel Morrison's final report emphasized Elena's extraordinary capabilities and recommended her continued assignment to operational duties based on merit and military necessity. The recommendation included specific provisions for managing the public attention surrounding Elena's achievements while ensuring that her primary focus remained on mission accomplishment rather than publicity activities. The resolution of Elena's reassignment crisis marked a turning point in her relationship with Chief Steele and her understanding of the institutional challenges facing women in military service. The experience had tested both of them in ways that combat operations had not, requiring them to navigate bureaucratic and political pressures while maintaining focus on their primary mission and responsibilities. Elena's reaction to learning that she would remain in her operational role was characterized by relief and renewed determination to justify the confidence that had been placed in her abilities. The experience had deepened her appreciation for leaders like Steele who were willing to take personal risks to do what they believed was right, and it strengthened her resolve to continue exceeding expectations in whatever role she was assigned. The precedent established by Elena's case had implications for other women seeking to serve in combat roles and for military leaders tasked with integrating diverse personnel into effective fighting units. The successful resolution demonstrated that merit-based decision-making could overcome institutional biases and political pressures when supported by leaders with the courage to advocate for what they believed was right. Steele's successful advocacy for Elena's continued operational assignment enhanced his reputation as a leader who prioritized mission effectiveness over personal convenience or political correctness. His willingness to challenge higher command decisions based on his professional judgment demonstrated the kind of moral courage that distinguished truly effective military leaders. The crisis had also revealed the depth of mutual respect and professional commitment that had developed between Elena and Steele. Their partnership had been tested under extreme pressure and had emerged stronger, providing a foundation for future operations and a model for how diversity could enhance rather than compromise military effectiveness when managed by leaders with wisdom and character. The lessons learned from Elena's evaluation process influenced military personnel policies and procedures, contributing to broader institutional changes that would benefit future generations of military personnel. The case demonstrated that exceptional performance could overcome initial skepticism and bureaucratic obstacles when supported by leaders committed to recognizing and developing talent regardless of traditional assumptions or limitations. 6 months after the reassignment crisis, Elena Rodriguez had become something she never intended to be, a legend within military circles whose reputation extended far beyond her original unit. Her 3,247-meter kill record remained unbroken, but, more importantly, her consistent performance under the most challenging conditions had established new standards for what was possible in military marksmanship. The transformation from skeptical reception to universal respect had been complete, but the journey had changed both Elena and Chief Steele in ways neither had anticipated. The operational tempo in their region had intensified following intelligence reports indicating a major enemy offensive was being planned. Elena's proven capabilities made her indispensable to defensive preparations, as her ability to engage targets at extreme distances provided strategic advantages that conventional forces could not match. The mission she was assigned had evolved from standard sniper operations to highly specialized tasks that utilized her unique skills in ways that maximized their impact on overall military objectives. Chief Steele's role had also evolved as his reputation as a leader who could identify and develop exceptional talent led to increased responsibilities and recognition. His partnership with Elena had become a case study in military leadership schools, demonstrating how effective leaders could overcome initial biases and create environments where outstanding performance could flourish. The respect he had earned from his advocacy for merit-based assignments had enhanced his influence within the special operations community. The relationship between Elena and Steele had transcended their original professional dynamic to become a mentorship that benefited both individuals. Steele's extensive combat experience provided strategic context for Elena's tactical excellence, while her innovative approaches to marksmanship challenges expanded his understanding of what was possible when exceptional talent was properly supported and developed. Their collaboration had produced results that neither could have achieved independently. Elena's influence on unit culture and performance had become increasingly apparent as other soldiers adopted her approaches to training, preparation, and mission execution. Her emphasis on continuous improvement and refusal to accept limitations had created a culture of excellence that elevated the performance of everyone around her. The positive changes she had inspired through example rather than instruction demonstrated the power of individual excellence to drive broader organizational improvement. The psychological warfare benefits of Elena's reputation continued to affect enemy behavior throughout the region. Intelligence reports indicated that Taliban forces were modifying their tactics and procedures specifically to minimize exposure to the sniper with the record-breaking capabilities. This adaptation required them to operate less efficiently and more cautiously, providing tactical advantages to coalition forces even when Elena was not actively engaged in operations. However, Elena's growing reputation also created new challenges as enemy forces began specifically targeting her and her unit with increased resources and determination. The knowledge that eliminating the legendary female sniper would provide significant propaganda value motivated enemy commanders to accept higher risks and casualties in attempts to locate and engage her. This elevated threat level required constant adaptation of security procedures and operational methods. The mission that would define Elena's legacy came when intelligence identified a gathering of high-level Taliban commanders planning the coordinated offensive that could potentially overrun multiple coalition bases. The meeting was scheduled to take place in a remote location that would require Elena to make her most challenging shots yet, at distances that pushed beyond even her proven capabilities. The stakes were enormous, as failure could result in attacks that would cost hundreds of coalition lives. Chief Steele's briefing on the mission parameters revealed the extreme nature of what was being asked of Elena. The primary target would be at a distance of nearly 3,400 meters, requiring shot precision that exceeded her previous record by a significant margin. Environmental conditions would be challenging, with high winds and variable atmospheric conditions that would make accurate engagement extremely difficult. The mission would require Elena to perform at levels that had never been achieved by any sniper in military history. Elena's preparation for this ultimate challenge drew upon everything she had learned throughout her military career. She studied weather patterns, topographical features, and ballistic calculations with obsessive attention to detail. Her equipment was inspected and tested repeatedly to ensure perfect functionality under the extreme conditions she would face. The mental preparation required meditation techniques and visualization exercises that helped her achieve the psychological state necessary for such extraordinary precision. The relationship dynamics between Elena and Steele during this preparation period reflected the deep mutual respect and professional trust they had developed. Steele provided strategic guidance and emotional support while respecting Elena's need to focus on the technical aspects of her preparation. Their conversations balanced honest discussion of the risks involved with confidence in her abilities and commitment to mission success. The infiltration to the shooting position for Elena's final mission required a 2-day movement through some of the most hostile terrain either she or Steele had ever encountered. Enemy activity in the area was intense, requiring constant vigilance and frequent route modifications to avoid detection. The physical demands of carrying equipment through mountainous terrain while maintaining operational security tested their endurance and teamwork to absolute limits. Elena's shooting position for the record-breaking attempt was established on a rocky outcrop that provided clear lines of sight to the target area while offering minimal concealment or protection. The location was chosen based on ballistic requirements rather than tactical safety, representing the kind of calculated risk that defines special operations. The vulnerability of the position added psychological pressure to the already extreme technical challenges of the shot. The environmental conditions on the day of the mission were at the edge of what would allow accurate engagement at such extreme distances. Wind speeds were variable and unpredictable, while atmospheric conditions created additional complications for bullet trajectory calculations. Elena's weather monitoring equipment provided data that she used to make final adjustments to her scope settings, but many factors would remain unknown until the moment of the shot. The target appeared at the scheduled time, confirming intelligence reports and providing Elena with the opportunity she had prepared for so intensively. The individual was clearly identifiable as the primary objective, making the shot legally and tactically justified. Elena began her final shooting sequence, controlling her breathing and heart rate while making micro-adjustments to her aim point based on last-second environmental observations. The shot that followed exceeded even Elena's expectations for precision and timing. The bullet traveled for over 4 seconds before finding its mark with devastating accuracy, eliminating the high-value target at a distance that redefined what was considered possible in military marksmanship. The achievement represented not just a new record, but a fundamental expansion of the tactical envelope for sniper operations. Chief Steele's reaction to witnessing Elena's ultimate achievement reflected the awe and professional admiration he felt for capabilities that transcended anything in his extensive military experience. The shot he had just observed would become legendary within military circles, but, more importantly, it had accomplished a strategic objective that prevented attacks against coalition forces. Elena's individual excellence had achieved results that would have required major military operations to accomplish through conventional means. The extraction from Elena's shooting position required immediate execution as enemy forces responded rapidly to the elimination of their key commander. The successful engagement had achieved its primary objective but had also compromised their position and triggered a massive manhunt by numerically superior enemy forces. Elena and Steele had to utilize all their training and experience to escape through hostile territory while under active pursuit. The psychological impact of Elena's final record-breaking shot extended far beyond its immediate tactical results. Enemy morale throughout the region was significantly affected as word spread of the impossible accuracy demonstrated by coalition forces. The propaganda value of the achievement also provided benefits for coalition information operations, demonstrating capabilities that enemy forces could not match or counter effectively. Elena's reflection on her achievements during the extraction movement revealed the personal satisfaction she derived from excellence in service to her country and fellow soldiers. The records and recognition were meaningful, but her primary motivation remained the knowledge that her skills directly contributed to mission success and the safety of coalition personnel. Her commitment to professional excellence had never wavered despite the challenges and pressures she had faced. The debriefing sessions following Elena's final mission provided closure to a deployment that had transformed both her career and her relationship with Chief Steele. Their professional partnership had evolved through mutual respect, shared challenges, and common commitment to mission accomplishment. The lessons they had learned together would influence their future assignments and the personnel they would lead in years to come. Chief Steele's final evaluation of Elena's performance and potential emphasized her exceptional technical capabilities while highlighting the personal qualities that made her an outstanding soldier. His recommendation for her continued operational assignment reflected his belief that her talents were best utilized in direct support of military missions rather than in administrative or training roles. The respect and admiration in his assessment were evident to anyone who read the carefully crafted professional language. Elena's transition to her next assignment carried with it the reputation and expectations that came with her unprecedented achievements. The 3,400-meter shot that concluded her deployment had established a new standard for military marksmanship while demonstrating that individual excellence could achieve strategic objectives when properly supported and employed. Her legacy would inspire future generations of military snipers while challenging assumptions about the limits of human capability. The institutional changes that resulted from Elena's service extended beyond sniper training programs to influence broader military policies regarding talent identification, development, and utilization. Her case had demonstrated that exceptional performance could emerge from unexpected sources and that organizational success depended on leaders' ability to recognize and support excellence regardless of traditional limitations or assumptions. The friendship between Elena and Steele that had developed through their shared experiences provided both with lasting professional relationships that would influence their future careers. Their mutual respect and understanding had been forged through challenges that tested their character and capabilities in ways that created bonds stronger than normal military associations. The partnership had proven that diversity could enhance rather than compromise military effectiveness when managed by leaders with wisdom and integrity. Elena's final conversation with Steele before her departure reflected the mutual appreciation and professional respect they had developed. Steele's acknowledgement of his initial skepticism and subsequent admiration for her capabilities provided validation for Elena's perseverance through difficult periods. Their shared commitment to excellence and mission accomplishment had created a legacy that would influence military operations long after their paths diverged. The legend of the female sniper who left the SEAL chief speechless became part of military folklore, inspiring stories that emphasized the importance of individual excellence, professional competence, and moral courage in achieving organizational success. Elena Rodriguez had proven that exceptional performance could overcome any obstacle when supported by leaders committed to recognizing and developing talent based on merit rather than assumptions or limitations.